Over the past decade, African economies have been growing vibrantly, and Ghana is one of the bustling leaders across West Africa. With improving per capita GDP and 2 decades of democratic leadership, Ghana needs well-trained citizens to build on and benefit from its economic growth. Looking into the future, however, Ghana has one of the world's worst education gaps in student outcomes, a potential setback to its socio-economic gains. In the senior high schools in Ghana, teachers overly focus on the curriculum standards, and students learn by memorizing and regurgitating, often with little understanding of subject material. Most teachers lack relevant teaching practices because they rarely receive professional development training throughout their careers. To support student learning and outcomes, the Institute of Teacher Education and Development, INTED, was launched in 2011 with help from Stanford University to help students build a culture of sustainable and continuous professional development. Founded by native Ghanaian, Stanford MBA, and Social Innovation Fellow Kwibena Ampaful, INTED's approach centers on 3 core pillars. Number 1, providing world-class professional development programs to support teachers in their schools. 2, building effective peer mentoring and collaboration to support teaching and learning. And 3, to use technology more effectively in the classrooms.
The Social Innovation Fellowship Program has been in existence since 2009. The aim of the program is to help budding social entrepreneurs who have some sort of novel, creative approach to addressing a serious, pressing social or environmental issue in the world.
There are a few statistics that one cannot ignore. Certainly, there's a lot of literature that UNESCO has put together that Africa has, and Sub-Saharan Africa in particular, has some of the worst teaching gaps in the world. Education systems are succeeding in getting more students into schools. However, these teaching gaps are constraining and giving only low or declining levels of education in these classrooms across the board, with secondary education receiving the least attention.
This is INTED's approach, and this is INTED's objective, to make teachers the main vehicle for improvement in the education system. I'm very convinced that INTED's approach will contribute significantly to improving teacher quality and outcome for young people in secondary schools.
INTED's proposal to mount a professional development program in the country, I think it's a very laudable one. It is very important, and it's timely because the ministry itself, Ghana Education Service, has been thinking about this.
GES supports INTED's work in Ghana. I think the things that we need to make the standard high and improve would largely be to focus on some level of capacity building for our teachers.
We need a system of education that will bring out the best out of the students. And the best can also be premised on the type of curriculum that we run. And more importantly, the teachers who handle this curriculum at that level.
Having a good teacher for 3 years in a row can make as much of a difference as 50 percentile points in student achievement. Kwabena approached CSET because he had been looking for somewhere in the United States that could provide the professional development for teachers, and he had come across our Stanford Summer Teaching Institute programs.
We needed an institution that will have the time to really tailor the world-leading, world-class professional development training to the needs of the Ghana schools.
INTED's 5-year development plan is to build local capacity of teachers and leaders to lead professional development in secondary schools. During the first year, INTED introduced 2 Train the Trainer programs as the first step in building a professional development culture in schools. The Master Fellows program trained teachers and school leaders from 6 schools to be professional development leaders. And the Fellows program provided professional development to teachers and school heads from 14 schools across the country. Some of the modules covered during both programs were critical thinking skills, active student engagement, instructional leadership, and technology for teaching and learning.
Ultimately, that's what we care about. It's the impact that this training does for the kids of Ghana. And that's what pushed us to work so hard, is that we are all passionate about kids, their education, and what that can do for a country. When people are educated and that income coming into a country influxes the type of country, culture, civilization it can become.
And we're going to have a meeting with just briefly.
I think the most exciting day of the project for me was the first day of the Fellows Institute, because it was at that point that the Master Fellows, who had demonstrated to Debbie and me that they were committed, that they could learn these things. So we felt confident about that, but actually seeing them deliver it in a way that the fellows were obviously responding positively to it. It was a tremendously exciting feeling for me.
There was an excitement, there was energy. It was a phenomenal experience and probably the best professional experience I've ever had. The teachers were so hardworking, never complaining. They were like sponges saying, give us more, give us more, give us more. They just didn't ever give up. They understood the impact that they could make on their students.
One of the things that really stood out for me was how ready the group was to try on new ways of working and being.
To train yourself in this area, how are you going to effect that change? That's what we wanted, not like...
In terms of how the participants received the work, they received it better than any group I've ever worked with.
And I think that if we have the backing and the support, this is something that would touch all teachers in Ghana over time, and therefore reach all children in secondary schools over time.
INTED's coming into the scene is a blessing for the country.
It's a model that the School of Education is excited about, we're excited about.
Thank you for listening to our story at INTED. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
For more information, please visit us online at intedafrica.org or send email or find us on Facebook at INTED Africa.